Earlier this week, Republican nominee Donald Trump revealed his economic proposal to reshape the American tax system. Trump's plan now includes 3 tax brackets instead of 4, limits taxes on business income, and ends the estate tax. So, Steve, welcome. Good to have you with us. What do you think is the biggest, in your opinion, growth driver in the Trump plan?
Well, I just want to hammer a point that James Freeman just made that I think is really critical, that if Donald Trump can be disciplined enough for the next 90 days to talk about the economy, jobs, taxes, and energy, and not talk about who started ISIS and Mormons and so on. He will win this race.
All right, so
I mean,
what do you think the chances of that are, Steve?
So, well, he has to start being much more disciplined. This week was supposed to be the economy week, and this is where Hillary is so vulnerable. Now, our plan is a plan that you all at the Wall Street Journal editorial page, I think, are going to love. We've got, some of the steepest tax cuts since Ronald Reagan was in office, and it's a plan, Paul, as you know, that's very much modeled after what has happened in the House under the Speaker.
Paul
Ryan. So that's really good part of it. 15% business tax is the heart of the plan, and you can contrast that, by the way, where Hillary is with her speech. She's at 50% for many small businesses. So 15 versus 50, we think that's a huge job creator.
Okay, well, I want to take you though to a question. The Tax Foundation scored the original Trump proposal as a 10 trillion money loser over 10 years. Now, you guys have been saying, look, we're going to take that down to 3 trillion if you include growth. Okay, but what I didn't hear Donald Trump talk about this week, he did shift the rates somewhat, the tax rates, which gets some money, but I didn't hear the flip side of that, which is what deductions are you going to remove that are going to make this plan cost less and also make the tax code more efficient by taking out inefficient loopholes? I didn't hear a lot of that.
Okay, so Paul, what we've done is taken another page out of the Wall Street Journal editorial board, and we basically said, let's put a cap on the deductions so that high-income people like Warren Buffett and Bill Gates and others will lose their deductions. So as you get, to be a millionaire and billionaire, you're not going to be able to take those gigantic loopholes and write-offs. And I've learned about that at the Wall Street Journal because that's something I think you all have really endorsed, and I think that's the right way to do it.
Okay, but I didn't hear that from Donald Trump on Monday, and I haven't heard that from him specifically. Is he going to come out and endorse that?
Yeah, he's endorsed a cap. Now, the specifics about how it's going to work, those will probably come out in the next couple of weeks. By the way, let's not nitpick here. I mean, this is a campaign document. It's not a Ways and Means Committee write-up of a tax bill. I mean, seriously. So this is a big picture thing. We want to cut taxes. We want to give, relief to financially stressed out families. But there's another component of this that you all didn't mention that is really important. Every meeting I've been in with Donald Trump, he brings this up. And this is the regulatory squeeze that's on business. And, think about this, Paul. I mean, this is a guy who's built buildings in New York City. This is a man who knows about regulation and the impediments that can be put up. And he believes, and I think he may be right, that the regulatory structure may be an even bigger impediment to businesses expanding and hiring. Just take, for example, the 50-worker rule under Obamacare. If you get rid of that, you're going to have a lot more employment in this country.
So are there any particular regulations that he's aiming at? He proposed a regulation moratorium for an indefinite period of time, which means nothing new. But Steve, that there's several. I mean, this last 2 years, this Obama administration is moving major rule after major rule through the economy, and those are playing out in a way that it's going to slow growth. Is he willing to stop those that are already moving?
Yeah, what we've talked about, and I think this is something you should hammer home because it's the kind of is a first-day agenda. You remember when Ronald Reagan became president. Remember his first day in office, Paul. He signed executive orders that repealed the price controls on energy. It was a huge driver for the economy. I think we could place literally 50 executive orders on Donald Trump's desk in the Oval Office, first day in office, mostly just repealing those regulations that Barack Obama has put in place for the last 2 years. For example, NFIB regulations that are really inhibiting franchises and things like that. So, yes, absolutely.
Right. So I got to ask you, Steve, and this is a place where we disagree. We have disagreed with Donald Trump, and that is on trade. And as I've listened to Mr. Trump over the last year, it seems to me that the one policy area that he cares most about, he hammers all the time, are these trade deals. And it doesn't seem to me that if you impose tariffs on the border, which, as you know, is a tax on the border and a tax on goods, that is going to increase growth, and in fact, it's going to raise prices for consumers.
Well, this is one area where I probably disagree with Donald Trump. I'm a free trader and I'm an Adam Smith guy. But he does make a point, I think, that some of these trade deals could be renegotiated in ways that would be making sure there's not cheating, there's not stealing. I mean, one of the points he made in his speech, I think, is important, and that sometimes we as free traders ignore, is that China and some of these other Asian countries are stealing our technologies, Paul. And what we produce here in the United States is intellectual property, whether it's computer software or drugs and vaccines. And a lot of these companies are stealing from us, and we need to maybe have a tougher negotiator to make sure that that doesn't happen to enhance American competitiveness.
Well, as you know, Steve, intellectual property, I agree with you on that. That's a very important issue, but that's theft. That's called theft.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
not called a tariff at the border. That's not called the voluntary exchange of goods. It's a very different proposition, and I don't disagree with you at all. That and I don't think most Americans, even anybody I know, would say let's not enforce theft, laws against theft. But it's different when you raise tariffs.
Yeah, but Paul, we're letting these countries get away with it, and I think what Trump is saying is, look, when I'm sitting at that negotiating table, I am gonna, if you keep stealing, we are gonna, put some perhaps tariffs or other restrictions on your ability to come into our markets. I mean, look. Donald Trump is a master negotiator. He did write a book that was a bestseller called The Art of the Deal. And I'm a free trader, but I do believe that maybe having somebody at the negotiating table who's a little tougher could yield dividends. The other area we didn't talk about, Paul, just quickly, energy.
I know, energy. He's going to open up energy, and we've supported that.
That's big.
Steve, I don't disagree with that. But thank you, Steve. Thanks for coming in.
Okay, Paul. I hope we got your support now. Don't be so tough on us.